Hey everybody, it's Natalie McKenzie and it's Monday, 6 p.m. and welcome. Thank you for joining us. Today's guest, we have Mayor Michael Wilds of Englewood, New Jersey, a son, husband, father of four, attorney, politician, and author. As an attorney, he leads with the spirit of the law and is guided by his conscience. He has authored in 2019 his first book, Safe Harbor. And I'm so sorry. His book he authored is called Safe Haven in America, Battles to Open the Golden Door. And he was nicknamed the Safe Harbor Master. So you see how I got a little confused there. He's a former federal prosecutor with the United States Attorney Office in Brooklyn, New York. And he currently is the managing partner at the leading immigration law firm of Wilds, Weinberg, PC in New York, Miami, and Englewood, New Jersey. He's also an adjunct professor at the Benjamin Cardozo Law School in New York, and I'm sure one of the few attorneys that can say he was pupiled by his dad and has pupiled his son and daughter. So, ladies and gentlemen, throw up some hearts, invite a few friends, and have me welcome Mayor Michael Wilds of Englewood, New Jersey. Hey, Michael, how are you today?
Very well, Natalie. Thank you so much for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure. We are delighted to have you. And I would have to say, as a resident of Englewood, I think we're honored to have you serve as our mayor a second time around.
So sweet, so kind. It's actually my third term, but my first Quaran-Tea. So
That's right. Welcome. Well, you've hit the subject, Mayor, so let's just bite the bullet. How is this going? What's Englewood doing? How are we faring? And what can we expect?
So first, thank you again, Natalie. I adore Obi, and my wife and I, Amy, enjoy every moment of seeing you on social media and the personal opportunities that we have to get to know you. And you're one of our more special friends and citizens in our city. We have a city that, thank God, is safe and well. The city of trees, the city of Englewood, rooted in so many things that speak towards resilience. This quarantine has shook America at the core and has caught us all by surprise. And sadly, it's something that we're stepping into. I look at my notes. We have a daily call at City Hall, and we're sitting, unfortunately, at 28 deaths and 588 positives. We still are robust as far as the medical response. We have some of the most extraordinary caped heroes. I believe that all of our police, fire, ambulance, public works, the people who are delivering food to your homes are people that you can see a little red cape underneath their shirt because they are superheroes, as we are staying home because of their grace. And we're very lucky for the resilience of our public service and public safety officials. This is giving us a great time to reflect on what's important. Our hospital is doing an extraordinary job, and I've been in touch literally with them every day. We have also the assisted living facilities of Englemoor, the Actors Home, and the Bristol, where sadly the numbers are going up and high, and they lay vulnerable, and they're on our city limits as well. So this mayor has not gotten much sleep, and I toil in a field of superheroes, and I'm prayerful and thankful for the good health and for those souls that have lost their lives.
Now, Mayor, most people may not know this, but you're also an EMT. Are you currently serving that role? How's that going? Are you fighting still?
So I've been an EMT for 27 years in the city of New York. And I basically learned the skills when my wife and I were having our first child, and there was no Google, and I was not fit in my mind to secure my daughter unless I really knew the protocols. And I've recertified 9 times since then. I have asthma, and I've been told by the ambulance crew that I'm a vulnerable citizen. And anybody older than 60, I'm not quite there, or anybody who has asthma or respiratory issues was told not to participate. I'm concerned not to put myself in harm's way. We know and we reflect, Natalie, when we're on airplanes and an oxygen mask comes down, you're told to put it on yourself first before you take care of a loved one. And I knew that if I put myself in harm's way, there are literally thousands of clients and hundreds of people that are counting on me, and the four beautiful children that I have and their families too. So it takes so much for me not to go out on calls. I still listen to all the radio calls, and I am going to put myself out there with PPP if I need to, if first line can't withstand it.
Mhm.
And even as a Sabbath observant Jew, I go out if I need to go out on medical calls. And my brothers and sisters of all religions, all faiths, whether they pray on a Friday, a Saturday, or a Sunday, are now family to me. And you'll find that I'm making up for it. I'm compensating because I have a personal guilt because I can't be out there.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Mayor Long, because your reputation precedes you. You are known for leading with your heart. You practice attorney. You're a practicing attorney, and you start with the spirit of the law. I know that firsthand. I've been your client, and the way you treat people, that reputation precedes you. How has the Jewish community had to adapt, especially with celebrating Passover in the middle of this pandemic?
Well, first of all, you should know that the Jewish community, the African American community, the Latino community, all of these communities, in many ways, have come together in a way that was unexpected. But 2 months ago, um, we're sitting ducks for something that Washington was completely sleeping on, and to this day still is turning its back, I believe, in the state of New Jersey and in our fair city. The Jewish community is scarred. It's burnt. Today actually is Adolf Hitler's birthday, and I was given warnings by people who are involved and in the know in law enforcement that there are efforts by neo-Nazis to go around and infect and to desecrate and to vandalize Jewish houses of worship because there aren't people there now, to cough on people and to get them sick. And when you look at the African American community and you look at the scores of residents, and we lost Margaret Temple. I can't tell you, Margaret Temple was the head of Family Teen Center. She was a leader in the Black community. I see people that are being felled by this. And there is a gaping human resource hole that are missing, not just the families, but the way this city garnered and galvanized and dealt with its young and its vulnerable and its old. And that's a common denominator that we had. So in the Jewish Passover holiday, for those that observe in the Orthodox tradition, um, you had to separate yourself from family and you couldn't speak to them for 3 nights. And it must have been very difficult. And people are observing very differently. Good Friday, Palm Sunday was also different. And by the way, when I get phone calls from pastors and rabbis and the imam in town, I ask them to pray for my family because I know that the prayer, whatever day, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, it's heartfelt, it's genuine, and we have a tremendous following of people of faith. And for those that have no faith in a religion, I think that they understand that their fate, fait accompli, has been in the first responders, that they are doing something spiritual, that they are exceeding their expectations. Even our hotel, the Crown Plaza, is now offering $50 to any physician or any nurse that needs to quarantine themselves or needs to separate themselves from their family members. So it's all hands on deck. This is an opportunity in many ways, if you look at it globally and you pull the lens back on the landscape, Natalie, for our planet to rest. While we are socially distant, we have to understand the psychological effects, and we have to be ready when we come back together to have grown stronger through this experience. But for the grace of those people that are passing, we owe it to their memories.
You know, it's you said it correctly. Regardless of what faith you are, of what religion you practice, and what your spiritual beliefs are, you can't help but recognize that this is a deliberate attempt, if by some unseen being, whomever you believe in. This is really something that has caused us to pause,
This
to
is not
reflect.
going to, yeah, this is not going to be flicking a switch back.
No.
It's going to be, you have to believe, I believe in God. I love God. I fear God. My prayers are longer now, more sincere than they have ever been. And I believe that our mettle is being tested. Our humanity is being tested, the way we respond. There are 5 synagogues that I'm organizing and they graciously raise funds to give food to our police, our fire, our park rangers, our public works. Imagine the guys collecting garbage or touching all of our things. Now, the one disappointment that I have as a mayor, as a father, as a husband, as a resident of the city of Englewood, is that there are a lot of people that just don't get it. They're still having play dates. They're still complaining about neighbors over things that they ought not to be doing. They should be doing the Christian thing and looking the other way. And that there's some people that don't have the same sensibilities. Now, I understand it's hard to process it, but we're in this for over a month now. And now's the time for us to do a deep hunker down to make sure that we can come back stronger.
What are you finding, Mayor Ross, is the biggest challenge for Englewood as a city throughout this pandemic?
Communication is critical. We have a president that has a politic that is at the press conferences. We have very little financial support, if anything, coming from the state. God bless our governor for keeping us safe, but we have absolutely no relief coming from our state legislators. Absent some posts on Facebook, taxes are still due May 1st. It's now April 20th. What about the poor people that are out of work? They got $1,200 checks if they made less than 100 grand. That's enough maybe to put a couple of meals on their table, but not enough to pay their mortgage, not enough to pay their electric. The utility companies are not going to turn the electric off. What has our state government done for us? Because we're not getting it from the federal government. And if we get it with strings attached. We have to say a big thank you because a ship was sent to the region because we got whatever intubation equipment that we need. And how are we going to go back? What's the plan? I don't see a plan. An 87-year-old father of mine, I'm going to bring him into the office for him to be exposed. What's the plan to protect us from this happening again so that we don't kill the economy one more time and we jump back too fast? So the biggest challenge, I think, is communication. I have a daily communication with all of the chiefs of departments, the fire, the police, the ambulance, the hospital, and I'm in communication with all those vulnerable citizens and residents, and I thank the volunteers and so forth. So communicating is absolutely critical. Number two is resource, getting the right PPE. We're desperate now for our police, fire, and ambulance service. Our OEM, our Office of Emergency Management, needs more sanitizing equipment and gloves and so forth. We got about 8,000 masks about 2 weeks ago, but there's a burn rate that's very heavy. And I have friends, thankfully, throughout the nation that are seeing me in social media, and they're sending things, and I'm turning it over to our police authorities and health department. Our health department is doing an extraordinary job. So getting resources, having more sleeves rolled up, more people physically able to warn others. We have to shut down parks, remove swings and basketball hoops because residents were still playing, because they were still putting their children into swings that weren't sanitized, and because they weren't using the right kind of judgment, which means communication, resource. And finally, I have to say, being positive, understanding that our founding parents and documents evolved out of a huge challenge. And look how this country, the richest country in the world, surmounted it. We surmounted slavery, a civil war, the Holocaust. We are a safe haven, as my book says, and to the world. We will surmount this, and we have to be stronger for this. And it's very important that we do a deep dive into our local businesses and those people that are hurting. Those restaurateurs, those bars, those wonderful places that we buy and polish our shoes, they've been there for us. We have to be there for them. So communication, resource, and support. Supporting everybody. Thanking the first responders, the fire, the police. They're all ranks are being hit by this. There's COVID basically all over. We don't allow pedestrians into City Hall. People have to apply online and so forth to get their homes moving. And homes are moving and progress is happening. This is actually a time for us to take stock and to do some work. Everybody's home. Let's get our parks ready so that Little League can start in earnest, God willing. Let's start moving in some neighbors and getting approvals. Have code enforcement go in when there's nobody else around, so through social distance they can approve permits. We want to have some of the development project, the Mitchell Simon property in the middle of our downtown. We approved that. And I made sure that we memorialize that so that we can go forward. And the developer who's investing in Englewood will move forward. We faced a great challenge when it came to communication, when it came to support and resource. In a post-Amazon world, the Central Business District had a lot of vacancies, and I ran a campaign after being away for 10 years to renew Englewood. We now have to revitalize our spirit. There's a spirituality, I believe, at the core of every American and everybody in this beautiful city. And there's something special in the trees and the air, how black and white can come together, Jew and Christian, rich and poor, and just all the different denominations. That beautiful Irish stew, or cholent, as they say in Hebrew, that works. It tastes delicious. We are better because of it. And now we have to be resilient and work into it, but we have to do this together and with great thought.
So, Mayor, having resided in the city for the last 20 years or so, I've watched the evolution. And we saw how Englewood changed from being a great boutique community to empty stores, restaurants evolving and changing every 6 months. And now we see that there's development coming. But what accommodations do we need for those who require lower income housing?
So the last project we had, the Mitchell Simon, there was no requirement. The city council just put in a requirement recently. And I insisted before they get their approval, they have to do affordable housing units at the site. They asked if they could take another off-site and get it done, and they did. And they volunteered this. There was not going to be any approval unless we did the right thing. And for those people, who remember the history of our city, if you look back in the 1800s, we evolved as a bedroom community to Wall Street, where there's literally haves and have-nots and a track that ran between us on a hill. Our job as elected officials is to create a segue between all of those communities so that you can't see a difference financially or in the culturation or in the character of our community. So if somebody has more money, they're going to take care of the person who doesn't. And if the person who doesn't is going to work just as hard as somebody who has, and they're going to help join together. And we had Blockbuster and Children's Place and Sleepy's. We had all these wonderful stores that kind of brought everybody because they were affordable, and we brought everybody together. And then bam, Amazon came to the world. But this just means that the same challenge had to be met differently. And then bam, when we start getting used to that, we start filling up all of our stores, the coronavirus comes. But guess what? We'll deal with this. Listen, our nation fought pirates on the high seas, and we fought ISIS in recent years, Al Qaeda before that, and we survived, and we go forward. We'll surmount this. I'm glad that our children are watching us. But the question is, how will we do it? Well, I have a good sense of what it takes. We have to publicize our services to help the businesses survive. We have to make sure that we know the local businesses, their staffing needs, and that we give them permits and approvals, and we move content the way they need it, not the perceptions that we have. And we have to help the businesses pivot. There's a gentleman in town who does millions of dollars making sandwiches to school systems and to businesses all over. There's no schools and there's no business systems in place. But he's now pivoting his business, and he's providing lunches and dinners to the police, the fire, and the National Guard at the Jacob Javits Center and all over. We need to be resilient for clients, for patients, for businesses in town, so that the professional business and elsewhere, and I'm a business owner in town. My law firm is in New York, New Jersey, Miami, and Los Angeles. And I knew what it was like to be forgotten for 7 years, 10 years on the second floor when all those empty stores were there. Nobody came to me and said, Mayor, why don't you bring your business downstairs in a storefront? So at least we have 10 to 15 people busily working rather than vacancy. We have to think out of the box. Mm-hmm. And as my wife has shown me, and you know that I married up, we need to love our children and our neighbors the way they need it, not the perception that we have. So things are going to change. I have to get my hand around how it's changing for the different companies, professional groups, and the retail stores. And then we have to figure out how we're going to do that. And God bless those people that are still able to deliver food to deliver services through telecommuting or other technology, we're going to help them.
So, Mayor, who is it that we need to partner with that helps with the chain of command to the governor's office so that as a city we can get more help?
I think you have to look to the governor's office. The executive of a city, of a state, of the nation really has at its behest and its resource the best apparatus and infrastructure to move things. The governor, I think, is really very well inclined and very well intended and is being very effective. I hope the legislator will take that kind of initiative and fund local municipalities so we take the pressure off. But I think we have to look to bolster our governor. And then we have to make sure that the region's governors step up to the president and say, help us lead our people. It's not fair for people to have paid taxes to face a national pandemic and then turn your back. I remember in the 70s, it was President Ford, where in the Daily News it said, President Ford to New York, drop dead. That was the headline in a newspaper. I saw it years ago. That's effectively what we're being told right now in the state of New Jersey when we're told you have to do more with less. People don't have. It's not fair to expect. And mayors like me need to be able to rely on state officials. State officials should be relying on federal officials. Otherwise, get out of the way and move over, because there are some of us that really know and have the right intentions of fixing this thing.
We're big on call to action. Who can we send letters to, send a text message to help you to mobilize whatever it is that needs to happen to this city? Because we know how great we can be, and we'd love to be Englewood, the beautiful boutique town that we once were.
Right now, the priority is getting and keeping the public safety and the health, getting PPE to our hospital, to our Office of Emergency Management. We'll have a chance later. Our state legislators, our state senator, our other officials throughout the region, our Bergen County executive, all very well intended. And they have to kind of get their bearings. They'll be up next. Right now, it's first responders and making sure our hospital, our nurses feel appreciated, that they're fed properly, that they can sleep and get rest, that they have the right protection, and that we get as many patients in and out of there healthily as possible. Emails and letters are for another campaign. Right now, we need to get, it's like the old show in the 1970s and 80s, MASH. We're doing triage. Right now, we don't have time for pens and papers and emails, and they're not being read by people who are really working hard. The people who have time to read quotes and play with social media aren't doing as much as the other people that are actually with their hands and they're, in blood, as it were. And right now, we're out in the middle of the fields trying to help people. We'll have plenty of time later to play not politics, but resource. And that's where the push should be at this point.
Okay, so as a community, if we can donate or help to get PPEs to our first responders, that's something that would be helpful.
Very, very much so. Very important.
Okay.
I know even in my law firm, in my own private setting, when there are people that have challenges and needs, it's so important that you take care of yourself and those around you, and then your community. Make sure that you're always talking to your family members, to neighbors that that are older. Let's concentrate on their health first. The other stuff will happen. I have full confidence in the governing body in Englewood and in the leadership of the different departments that we will step into this and we will lead as Englewood has always led in the past. We set the standard. We don't need to follow other people.
So we're short on time at this point, but you've made some very salient points, and we want to keep those in mind. One of the things that sticks out in my mind when you first went into quarantine, Mayor, is you conducted a wedding on the curb.
Yeah, much to the chagrin of my wife. I want to remind people that we will be continuing. And but for the grace of God, this has happened, and there's a reason for it to have happened to our nation and to our world at this time. And life will continue, and weddings should continue, and Englewood, a city of love, should really drown all the negativity. and I was asked if I would conduct that wedding. And by the way, I have 6 other weddings set up. Now I'll be wearing gloves and a mask, and we'll count the people to make sure that it stays within the executive order and the protocol. But I'm here. I'm here to marry people. I'm here to remind people that, and there are people getting married who then apply for green cards, that America's golden doors are open. That's
And
the title of my book, by the way. It's Safe Haven in America, Battles to Open the Golden Door. I always believed fundamentally that the door is hinged to close against those that would cause us harm, but to be open to the new entrepreneurs, the new scientists and first responders that of tomorrow that we need to be admitting now.
Mayor, I must say your reputation precedes you. You have governed the way you have practiced law. And to know that you are someone who have served in so many capacities, it's not well known that you served with the NYPD, that you are still an EMT, something I still, hold you in high regard for. And I know all your titles and accolades, your first son, and then Amy's husband and your children's dad, because that's what makes you so human and is considerate of others. And we value that. We really appreciate you as our mayor. We appreciate you as our leader. And we thank you for being so conscientious of those who serve us.
You're so great. You're so gracious and you're so kind. I have a father who's 87 years old. He walks into the room, I stand up no matter where I am. I've never sat in his chair. I've never interrupted him in conversation. I, I greet him as sir, and I have had the grace of working with him my entire professional life. And I worry most about him because I want my 2 older children that are now lawyers to be able to see their grandfather practice, and I don't know when I can bring him out. I went for a walk with him yesterday, and we ended up having to wear masks and gloves and stand 6 to 10 feet apart from one another. And it's a real challenge, but I think it's the challenge of biblical import, reminding ourselves that the challenge that we face will end, and our children will measure us by the way we respond. I remember my father telling me this. The person you marry, you'll see when things are hard financially, if you made a good decision. Do they make you feel harder? Do they take away the straw from building the bricks? Or do they make you feel 10 feet tall? And that experience is something that I've been, for the most part, very honored to be the mayor of such a city. In fact, I have to tell you, Natalie, I think being mayor has made me a better father, a better husband. And being a good husband and a father has made me a stronger mayor because there's a genuineness that children and seniors see when I get phone calls in the middle of the night, when I hear from residents that are passing or needing resource, and they know, and I follow up with people. It's all in the details. And this is a trust that was given to me, and it's not something that I own. I have to continually work toward it, and I am privileged. I gave this up 10 years ago because my little one said to me, "Daddy, take your shoes off." I said, "Why, sweetheart?" She goes, "Because if you don't have shoes on, you can't run for mayor." So now she don't care where my shoes are. But the truth is that those 10 years of giving to my children gave me a lot more sensibility. And now we need people in politics in all stations that are sensible and make decisions based on life and death. And our patience should be gone for people that have absolutely no priorities, or they're giving you talking points.
Mayor, we're really short on time, but I'd be remiss if I did not ask you this. Do you have plans for running for higher office?
So I love being mayor. I have no immediate plans. I support all the people that have positions now in place, and I think they're all very genuinely inclined and we're well represented. If given the privilege, I'll think about it because I would have to give up my law practice. And it's a decision that my wife and all of those beautiful children, and now some of them are married and having their own children, will have to think about. But it's, again, I think if you make it as a mayor of a city like Englewood, you can make it anywhere because your mettle is really, really tested. But I really do appreciate being mayor and working with the people. And even the headaches are worth it because it's a beautiful experience. I just feel sad because we may not have our Memorial Day parade our fireworks, or the things that historically have brought us together. We'll have a lot more to say, and hopefully we'll use this time individually to develop closer relationships with those that we're quarantined with. But I believe in the end that we will be stronger. And I just say thank you to everybody. I get when I give, and you're giving me lots of opportunity to give back now.
Well, we thank you so much, Mayor Miles. We thank you for taking the time for speaking with us. We thank you for your service. And I think I speak for the residents of Englewood by saying we're grateful to have you and we look forward to supporting you. So thank you so much for joining us, Mayor Miles. Thanks for
Thank
tuning
you.
in.
Thank you, Natalie, for your graciousness for hosting me. Take good care of my friend Obi, and to your viewership. I have to tell you, the whole woman and the experience of being in Natalie's vector is something extraordinary. And if I had to get stuck in a quarantine, I want to be it with you.
Thank you, Mayor. Give Amy our love. Hi to
I
your
will. I
dad.
will.
Thank
My
you so
love to
much for
Obi.
joining us.
Ciao,
It's
everybody.
Natalie McKenzie with The Whole Woman. It's Quaran-Tea with Mayor Wiles. And tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen, join us as we have Hollis Thomas talk with us about being president of Local Moms. She's also a trustee at the YWMCA. And of course, now she is partnered to her husband as they both work from home. That will be interesting. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow. I wish you enough love to give, enough joy to share, enough life to live. I wish you enough. Have a great day, and see you tomorrow at 6 p.m.